Hey everyone, so in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to install WordPress on Amazon Web Services Lightsail. So the first thing we need to do is go to aws.amazon.com, and then you're going to click here where it says sign in to console. You'll put in your username and password, and then you should be redirected to your console homepage. From there, just click on Lightsail. If you don't see Lightsail, you can just go up to your address bar and just type in lightsail.aws.amazon.com, push enter, and it'll take you right there. Once you're in the Lightsail main page here, you're going to see this option to create an instance. So just click on create instance, and then it's going to ask you to choose a location for your instance. So here where it says change AWS region and availability zone, you can click there and pick a location like Virginia, Ohio, Montreal, Oregon, Ireland, London, Paris. Ideally, you should pick a location or a region that's closest to where your visitors are. So in my case, I'm going to go with Virginia. And then we're going to come down here to instance image. We're going to leave it on the default option, which is Linux. And then we're going to come down to the blueprint. For the blueprint, you have two options. You have apps plus the operating system or operating system only. We're going to go with apps plus the operating system only, and we're going to choose WordPress. And that's because we want to have WordPress installed on top of our operating system. So you're just going to choose this WordPress option here. You don't need the multi-site unless you know what a multi-site is. Just go with the regular WordPress one here. And then we're going to come down here to the bottom. All of this, we can just leave it the way it is. We don't need to make any changes. And then down here, you're going to select the size for your instance. And there's all these different plans. I'll make a video on how to pick out the best plan for your website. But for this tutorial, I'll go with the $5 plan. And then down here at the bottom, it's going to say identify your instance. You can just call it whatever you want. I'll call it WordPress demo. And you can't have any spaces in here, so we'll just do it like that, and then click create instance. And then as soon as you click that, it will take a couple of minutes for your instance to be created. You can see here it's in the process of starting. So I'll just pause this video. Once it's completed, I will come back. All right, I am back. And as you can see, our WordPress demo instance is now in a running status. And if you look here, you'll see an IP address. If you copy that IP address and paste it into a new tab and push enter, you'll see your WordPress installation right here. Just a basic WordPress website using the 2025 theme. If you look up here at the top in the address bar, you'll see that it's not secure. So we're going to fix that, and we're also going to point our domain to the IP address. But before we do any of that, there's one very important step that we need to do, and that is we need to make this IP address static so it will not change. Right now, this is a dynamic IP address, so if you ever reboot your server or something like that, this IP address is at risk of changing, which means your website will break and go down. So we want to create a static IP address, and that's very easy to do in Lightsail. Just click on the name of your instance, and you're going to come down here. You're going to see all these different tabs. Go to the networking tab, and then you're going to see here attach static IP. Just click on that, and then it's going to say identify your static IP. So just give it a name. I'll use WP demo, and then click create and attach, and then just give it a second here. It'll attach a static IP to your WordPress instance or to your AWS instance, which it did. So we can just click continue, and there it is. That this is our static IP address right here. So if you go back here on the left hand side and click on instances, you now see the static IP address right here. It's changed to a new number or to a new IP, but this one will not change. It'll always stay this way. So if you copy that and paste it here and push enter, you now see your WordPress installation on your new static IP address. So now what we need to do is we need to make this site secure, and we need to point our domain to this IP address. To do that, you're going to need to log in to wherever you're hosting your domain. So in my case, I'm using GoDaddy, but you might be using Namecheap or Google Domains. Just go to your DNS settings, and we're going to add a couple of DNS records. So in my case, I'm going to go to GoDaddy.com. I'm already logged in, so I'm going to go over to my products. In GoDaddy, you just go to my products, click on domains, click on the name of your domain, and go to the DNS tab, and this will take you to all of your DNS records. Now, before we create any records, I'm going to explain what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to open up a Microsoft Word file. The domain that I'm going to use will be demo.manzeri.com. And this is a subdomain. And the reason I'm going to use a subdomain is because I already have my main website on manzeri.com. So I'm not going to use manzeri.com because it's already being used for a different website. So I'm just going to create a subdomain. So I'm going to call it demo.manzeri.com. But in your case, you're most likely not going to be using a subdomain. You're just going to be using your main domain, such as example.com. So I'm going to show you how to set up those DNS records accordingly. So go to your domain provider, and we're going to click on something like Add New Record. And we're going to create two types of records, an A record and a CNAME record. First one we're going to do is an A record. Now, if you're doing a subdomain like I'm doing, you'll put the name of the subdomain, whatever you want to call it. So in my case, we're going to call it demo. And for the value box, you're going to paste in the IP address of your static IP, which is this right here. So we're going to paste it in there. And now you have an A record, the domain or the name is demo, and the IP address or the value box is going to be your IP. That's it. And then you just click save. If you're using the main domain and you're not doing a subdomain, you're just going to put the @ symbol where it says name, and then you'll leave the value set to the IP address. So in my case, I'm just going to put demo here and click save. And that's it. And then we're going to add one more record, and we're going to choose CNAME. And again, if you're using the main website like example.com, just put www here. Don't put the dot, just www. And for the value box, put in the name of your domain, like example.com. Okay. If you're using a subdomain, you're going to put www.demo or whatever you're going to call your subdomain. And for the value box, you're going to put demo.manzeri.com. So in my case, this is how it's going to be. And then we're going to click save. And our DNS records are added, so we are done with GoDaddy. We can close out of that. Now, we open up a new tab and go to demo.manzeri.com. You can see our connection is not private. We need to secure this domain. So what we need to do is go back over to Lightsail, click on the name of our instance, and you're going to see an option here that says connect using SSH. If you click on that, it's going to open up this terminal, and this might look a little intimidating, but don't be. I'm going to make this super easy to follow. Now, if you get an error message opening this up, it's most likely because your installation is still pending, so just give it a few minutes and that error should go away, and it should take you to something like this. Now, I like to use PowerShell when I do any type of commands. So if you're on a Windows, you can just go to the Start menu, type in PowerShell, and just click on Windows PowerShell, and it's going to open up a screen. Looks very similar. It's going to open up just like this. So if you're going to use PowerShell, you'll need to download a SSH key from Amazon. So if you look here in Lightsail, you'll see an option to download default key. Click on that, and it's going to download it to your downloads folder. So if you go to your downloads folder, you see right here Lightsail default key. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, or rather I'm going to cut this key, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. So I'm going to create a folder right here, and I'm going to call this WordPress demo. I'm just going to call it the name of my site. And inside this folder, I'm going to paste that key. And you should save your key someplace safe, because a lot of times you might not be able to re-download it. So saving it someplace safe on your computer would be a good practice. So now we have our key saved in our folder. And you take this, if you go up in the address bar of the folder, you'll see this path for where the file is stored. We're going to copy this location to your clipboard, and we're going to go back to PowerShell, and we're going to type in the following. CD, I'm going to actually make this bigger. So we're going to type in CD space quotes, and then Control V, and then another set of quotes, push enter. What this is going to do, it's going to take you into that folder in the command prompt. So now that we're in that folder, we can SSH into our server. Just type in SSH space I. This is how you're always going to start out this command. And then you're going to put in the name of that file. So if you go to your desktop and go to that folder, you'll see this long name here. What we can do to make it easier is just rename this to WordPress-demo. This way we make it a lot shorter. So now we can come back to our command prompt, or PowerShell rather, and type in WordPress-demo.pem space bitnami, the @ symbol, and then you're going to put the IP address of your server, which is going to be this one right here, the static IP. Control C, and then just Control V, and push enter. And then it's going to say, are you sure you want to continue? Just type the word yes, push enter. And as you can see, we now have a screen that looks very similar to our Lightsail screen from Amazon. Now, I like to use PowerShell just because I can do Control C, Control V, and I can just paste commands in. If you use the online terminal, you can't do Control C or Control V. You kind of have to right click to paste things in. So I just find it easier to use PowerShell, but you can use whichever one you like. I'm going to use PowerShell, so I'm just going to close out of this and keep PowerShell opened. Okay, so now what we're going to do at this command prompt here is we're going to secure our website using a command line. So we're going to type in the following, and I'll have this in the description so you can just paste it in, but I'm going to type it in manually here. Okay, and be insert dash tool. So this is the command line that we're going to use to secure our domain. So we're going to push enter, and we're just going to give it a couple of minutes. It will take a couple of seconds to load up. There it is. Now it's going to ask you to put in your domain. So we're going to put in, if your website is example.com or whatever your site is, you're just going to put it in just like that. In my case, I'm going to put in demo.manzeri.com, and I'm going to put in www.demo.manzeri.com, just like that. But if you're using just the main domain, such as example.com, you'll just put in example.com, and then you'll put a space and you'll put in www.example.com. Okay, just like that. In my case, I'm using a subdomain, so I'm going to go demo.manzeri.com and then www.demo.manzeri.com, just like that, and push enter. And then it's going to say enable HTTP to HTTP redirection. To that, we want to say yes. So just put Y and push enter. Next one is going to say enable non-www to the www redirection. We don't want to do that. Hit no. So just type N, push enter. Next one, enable www to non-www redirection. That one we will say yes and push enter. And then it's going to come up with this little message here. It's going to tell you what changes that it's going to perform to install your SSL. So your server is temporarily going to stop while it configures a free SSL from Let's Encrypt. So to this message, just put Y and then push enter. And then it's going to take a couple of seconds, and then it's going to pop up another message, and it's going to ask you to put in your email address. So just put in your email, push enter, and then it's going to ask you to accept the subscriber agreement for Let's Encrypt. Just put Y and enter, and then this one will take a few seconds or maybe a minute or so to install the SSL. So we'll just let that load here. Should be done in about a minute. Okay, and then you see here the success message. So that's telling you that it was completed successfully. So we can just push enter to continue, and it returns us to a new command line. So we can just minus down the PowerShell for now. We can go open up a new tab and just type in your website. So I'm going to put in demo.manzeri.com and push enter, and boom, there you go. There's your WordPress website. And if you look here, there's no message that it's on secure or not secure. As a matter of fact, you can click here and you can see the little padlock saying connection is secure. So everything looks good. You can even type in www.demo.manzeri.com and it will redirect to demo.manzeri.com. Everything is secure and working just as it should be. So everything is all set here. Your site is secure. Now for the fun part, logging into the back end of WordPress. So how do you log in? Well, basically you're just going to log in like you would on any other WordPress website. Just amend the URL with wp-admin, and there you are. And from here you can sign in with your username and password. But of course, you're probably wondering, what is your username and password? Because we never made one. So you're going to get all of that from the server. So go back to PowerShell, and you're going to type in the following command. And again, I have these commands in the description of the video, so you can just copy and paste. But we're going to type in cat/home/bitnami_credentials. And how do you spell it? Let me make sure I spell it right. Credentials. There we go. And then push enter. And then it's going to say welcome to the Bitnami package for WordPress. And then if you look here, the default username and password is user, and then this thing right here is your password, and it's right in the quotes. So you don't want to copy the quotes. You just want to copy everything within the quotes. So we're going to copy everything inside the quotes, and you can just Control-C on that. And then go back to the login page, put in user. And for the password, you just Control-V, and I'm just going to show the password so you can see that it's the same password that I just copied from the terminal. And then click login, and there you are. You are now logged into the back end of WordPress. Once you're logged in here, what I would recommend doing is coming down under users and editing that user and changing the password to something that you'll remember, something secure. Just put a password right here, or you can just type in a password you want to use. Or you can just click on add a user and make up another user here, and just make sure you set it to administrator since you're the admin. And then of course you can come up here. You can update the WordPress installation to the latest version. You can install all your plugins and change your theme and all that good stuff. So I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Thank you.